I filled out the questionnaire, and of course I got every single one sort of in the bracket of what it would mean to be depressed or to have anxiety. So yeah, he diagnosed me with depression.
This a success off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school.
So recording in all areas. Oh, fantastic. Well, what's going on, guys? Kieran Headley here from the Pocket Coach podcast, the place where we bring mental health and performance together. We sometimes have doctors, specialists in their fields coming on to talk about these topics, or you might have your boy Kez, just like right here, speaking about mental health or performance. So today we're doing our very first ever live podcast. So I'm very excited about this. We've got the noises of the bikes, of the cars, of the people, of cafes and everything going on around us. We're in the heart of Takapuna, and we're basically just completely open to the space. We've invited some people down, and if they come, then we're going to have some fantastic conversations, which is exciting. Or if they don't come, then we're just going to be having your boy Kez speaking about mental health and performance on his own. So we'll see how we go. I have no idea what's going to happen here. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous. It is definitely a little bit out of my comfort zone, and there's actually very few things that are. So this is one of them. We've got a whole lot of tech set up. We've got this new mixer I've never used before. We've got a couple of quality Rode Procaster mics going on. We've got 3 cameras. We've got 2 live streams. It's a full go. So the full shabam. So yeah, it's very exciting. So we'll see if anyone comes by. We've got a couple of signs set up as well, just indicating that, hey, you can come on down and join in on the Pocket Coach podcast. In terms of the sound quality as well, I'm going to be very fascinated to see how this turns out as well, because again, like I said, this is all brand new. This has never happened before in this way. So yeah, we'll see how everything goes. Anyway, because we do have one guy, actually, I think he just shot off to get a coffee. He is going to come down and join. You saw on one of my posts that we're doing a live podcast, so we will have someone coming down, which is good. Until then, I think I'll just start spieling and sharing a little bit about maybe my own journey. It's probably a good place to start. Well, first of all, there was once upon a time when this would never have happened. I would not have... Oh, yeah. What, you all good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically you're sort of hearing me jumping in and out as well of conversation because, since we've got so much tech going on, I want to make sure that things are always going to be all good. But yeah, once upon a time I was quite possibly the shyest kid in my own class. From how I felt anyway, I felt incredibly shy, incredibly terrified of people, of the world. I was fueled by depression at the time and unknowingly anxiety as well. Although I wasn't even really aware that I was depressed, I didn't really have a word for it, but I knew I felt off. I knew I felt sad. I knew I felt incredibly disassociated from the world and from people around me. So that's really where I was. And over the course of many years, I finally came to understand what it was after I went to a counselor and did a lot of work through a counselor. I came to understand that, okay, great, I had depression. I got diagnosed by a doctor, depression. What was interesting actually about the diagnosis with the doctor, and the thing that sort of frustrates me a little bit about it, is the fact that when I went to the doctor, it was something completely unrelated to my mental health at all, actually. It was actually about this low energy spell I was having. It was about this insane amount of brain fog. I was napping about 5 times a day as well in my car because I had no energy. And this was completely due to a hormonal imbalance issue that I had created for myself, honestly. I was actually abusing testosterone at the time. I was... I was seeking pure external validation. I put on a lot of muscle. I was feeling fantastic about myself, but in all the wrong ways. And it was interesting because I ended up because I was on testosterone replacement therapy. It wasn't really therapy. It was because of my own use, my own decision to use it. I think the camera sort of, yeah. Oh, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Nice catch. Yeah, maybe you need to take it out of the case because the case will be slippery. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. No, no problem. So yeah, essentially, when it came down to it, I was using this testosterone, and I ended up getting some fake stuff through a friend, and unfortunately, yeah, that fake stuff didn't work, of course, and my testosterone went very low. It went down to like a 4 or 5 point, which is very, very, very low for a guy. And I wasn't able to get an erection. Yes, that was one thing. I felt incredibly weak, felt incredibly tired, and this is when the brain fog came on. This is when the intense napping came on. This is when I started to not be able to function as a human being. It's horrible. And yeah, I felt quite depressed about it. Yeah, I felt quite anxious about it. But the predominant cause of it was the testosterone factor, right? And there's actually strong correlations between testosterone and depression that have been actually coming out in a lot of recent literature as well. So I can see why after direct experience. And of course, being in Takapuna, we're going to get the loud cars coming through, the guys with the fixed exhausts. There we are. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I went to the doctor about it, and yeah, he got me to fill out a form. And now, here's the thing that annoyed me, is the form was quite literally a 7-step questionnaire. It was just 7 questions. I filled out the questionnaire, and of course, I got every single one sort of in the bracket of what it would mean to be depressed or to have anxiety. So yeah, he diagnosed me with depression, and he offered me prescription medication. I denied, purely out of pride. Purely out of pride. I definitely needed some support at the time, but I declined it because I was too much of a man. I was too manly for the support, right? And yeah, it was an interesting time. I ended up taking instead, as I was going through this whole process, I ended up actually going to an endocrinologist, which is a specialist around hormones and the endocrine system. The endocrine system is essentially the system that helps to produce hormones and compounds within our system. Right now, because my endocrine system was messed up from the abuse of testosterone, I needed the help. So I went to an endocrinologist, and he gave me a nice, straightforward plan to use the testosterone and then to use some other medication to help my testosterone rebalance, and it did work. It took a very long time though. It took like I was in this depth for maybe about 10 months of brain fog, of feeling out of it, and it was the last sort of 6 months that I was going through the healing phase, because the first 4 months I had no idea what was going on, and it felt horrible. And yeah, going through this process, I learned a lot, and I ended up actually taking St. John's wort. So for those that don't know what St. John's wort is, it's a natural herb. Also, I'm just wondering as well, do you think people can also hear conversation through here? Like, do you think?
I think so, because someone said cool accent.
Oh, cool accent. Thank you.
I think they can hear.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, I'd love to next time get one of those things where you can attach the mic into the iPhone and like you can point it. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Almost like a shotgun mic in a way, eh? Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I took St. John's wort. It's this beautiful herb, this compound, completely natural by the way, but it focuses on decreasing cortisol, and as a consequence, it actually raises serotonin. And someone's been talking to me about dopamine. I'm not sure about the true correlation, whether or not dropping cortisol would actually decrease dopamine or would it enhance it. I actually don't know. It might influence dopamine. I particularly know the specific science behind that yet. Something I'd like to look into, but essentially there is a positive correlation between that and dropping cortisol. So that was my medication experience in a natural sense. It worked very beautifully, and I would like to invite this gentleman who's actually come and join us on a podcast, and I'll continue with a little bit about my story at a later point. But we have a beautiful gentleman here. Please come on and join. I'll get you to sit sort of like right in here. Yeah, because we want to be in frame. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. There we go. So what was your name again, sorry?
Shane.
Shane, yeah, so Kieran.
My hand's a little
Yeah,
sad,
that's
sorry
okay,
about
brother. That's okay, yeah. Thank you for coming down.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. It was
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and where are you from, by the way?
Originally, I'm from the U.S. from
Oh,
Utah,
okay.
So,
Oh, wow, beautiful.
yeah. Now I live in Okra, so just north of Long Bay.
Yeah. And how are you finding it in New Zealand? How long have you been in New Zealand?
about 6.5 years this time, and 2 years another time.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So first time was mostly in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Then went back to the States to be close with family, and then had wanted to come out here for some time, and
Beautiful.
we had the chance in 2014 and been here ever since. So
Wow.
it's a
Oh, that's
beautiful country.
Oh man, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spent some time in the States, but mainly in California and a little bit on the East Coast. So I did a little bit of Florida and the Keys, which was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, but I lived for 3 months in San Diego.
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely loved it there. Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like that was a home away from home, San Diego. Yeah,
San Diego's beautiful.
Mm.
So I only spent a little time there, but it was nice.
yeah.
Florida, I only know the airport, just passing
Okay.
through. So.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So what drew you to New Zealand originally? What was?
Oh, it was quite some time ago. When we were still married, we'd both been kind of interested in New Zealand and Australia for some time.
Right.
And even before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you actually knew it existed.
Yes,
before
we actually knew it existed long before
Yeah.
it became popular
Yeah.
with Middle Earth. But
Yeah.
and had the chance to move down here, and it was 2006. So 2006 to 2008, lived in New Zealand and enjoyed it here. And
Beautiful.
We had our son was about 5 years old at the time.
Oh,
5 to
amazing.
7, and
Yeah.
then the next time we moved down, it was funny because we had a daughter in the meantime while we were back in the
Oh,
States,
wow.
and she was almost 5 when we moved here, and so
Yeah.
it was a similar experience for her. But now we've just stayed, and she doesn't know any different. She hardly remembers the States.
Right.
She just knows New Zealand mostly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
little
So
memories of it.
any accent at all?
She has kept most of her American accent. It's really weird.
That
I
is so
think.
fascinating.
If it's like a New Zealand name,
Yeah.
like a place or something, then she'll do more of a Kiwi accent
Okay.
with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, but I'm betting that times she probably switches a little bit with her friends. But yeah, like a lot of people are just like, oh, I love her accent and stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
To me, it's just normal. But
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes there's certain words where she'll kind of mix up in the sentence a little bit of Kiwi accent, a little bit of American accent. And me, I'll probably never lose my American accent. That's just,
Yeah.
I'm old enough that
It's
just
just so
stuck in
deeply
there.
ingrained, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. It was interesting when I went overseas. I lived in a few different countries, and I held on to my New Zealand accent, yes, but I lost actually quite a bit of it, eh? So when I came back, people were asking me, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from
yeah.
here." What do you mean? But yeah, definitely, it did diminish slightly, but I can definitely see that it would never completely disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me mine has softened
Yep.
over time.
Yeah.
So,
When's the last time you went back? The States?
2016.
Oh wow, yeah, it's been a
So,
while.
Yeah, it is. So I'm looking at possibilities of going back to visit now because there's
Yes.
been, like, between my mom and my dad and my stepmom, their health's not great, and so it's like, okay, I should go back for a visit and just see them and put up with the 2 weeks quarantine when I come back here and
Yeah.
but do it. So
Oh, that's fantastic, brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. So, thanks for coming on down, as I mentioned earlier, man. And I'd love to actually ask what inspired you to join in. What was the sort of?
because it seems like what you talk about is like managing mood and
Yeah.
emotions and different things, and it's something that I'm getting into right now. At the moment, I'm doing holistic health with like massage therapy, Reiki, craniosacral therapy, and a few different things
Yeah.
under Luminary Wellness. But I'm transitioning into creating some online workshops around personal development.
Oh
And,
wow,
like, the first one
amazing.
the first
yes.
one I'm making is 9 tools for managing stress and difficult emotions. And
Wow.
it's like, okay, it'd be cool to talk with him and just see what he has to say and this and that. And
Oh, fantastic. And what have been some of the big takeaways and lessons that you've gained so far that have really surprised you in a way? I suppose is probably a good one.
I think one of the main things is that it's not so much about the big things, it's about the little things.
Yeah.
Just little tiny things, whether it's just like, okay, pausing and just breathe for a moment. And, if it's
Totally.
mindfulness, just taking 60 seconds just to be really aware of what you see or what you hear and things like that. And that was important enough that I kind of incorporated it into like my first tattoo a few years ago. And
Yeah.
there's just so many little things that we can do, making sure we move our bodies, whether
Yeah.
that's the gym or yoga or just going for a walk
Yeah.
or stretches. If we're not moving our bodies, we're not managing the stress and the emotions. That's just gonna get stuck.
Yes.
And-
There's actually a big thing about that, isn't there? The
Yeah.
fact that it can, that our nervous system does actually have some form of release that occurs through that movement and through that shake. I mean, like, of course, it's very animalistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, like, you see antelope do it a lot when they, when say they've just been hunted down. Hello. Hey, I'm gonna come give you a hug. I'm jumping out of this. For a second. Sorry, brother.
That's all right.
So And that's also this fantastic human over here is one of the humans that I work with.
Nice.
Yeah. She's just come in from Australia.
Australia. That's a
Yeah.
big hop over the pond.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. And it's really fascinating around with the antelope. If you see a whole herd of antelope, and like basically they get chased down by like a lion or by some sort of predator, and say one of their peers die. Quite literally, within 60 seconds, you'll see the rest of the herd shake it off and then return back to what they were doing. It's like they're not as traumatized the way that we are. They're not accumulating this strong, intense memory the same way that we would if, there was a death around us, or even if we just went through a breakup, let alone death itself.
So that's their switch from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic?
Correct. Yeah. So there's an interesting. They can't actually maintain a very long. They can't really maintain a very long period of time in the sympathetic system.
Yeah.
Because the way that we're designed to go through prolonged periods of stress, whereas animals such as antelope aren't. So they're actually designed to go more into the parasympathetic, because what the parasympathetic does is it helps them to broaden their vision. And of course, they're not predators, right? So they need to constantly be aware of their surroundings.
Absolutely.
Whereas we've been more in the predatorial state for a lot of the time, hunting. So our eyes have been focused more forward, and in doing so, we don't actually need this huge widespread vision the same way as like the antelope do, because they're out in open fields. They need to be aware, and in the parasympathetic state, they're able to be more observant of what's going on around them. So if they're in the sympathetic state, they're more in the narrow vision. You see, yeah. So I think, based on what I've heard anyway, I might be speculating a little bit here, but yeah, they aren't able to maintain that sympathetic state because of a few reasons, such as the fact that they need to keep the vision more broad for survival purposes. But yeah, one of the shifts is the shaking, the movement. Yeah, is to help them to shift. Which is really fascinating, and it's definitely something that us humans don't do enough of, right? Which is a movement factor. So yeah, I love that. That was a big factor you noticed.
It's one of the main things that's helped me. Like, I went through stages of where I had high enough levels of anxiety and depression that I was like referred by a doctor for counseling stuff, and movement, like especially like just free form dance, just finding some music I like and just shaking my body however I feel like, has been one of the most best therapies for me.
Wow.
In doing that. But I know a lot of people just find different ways to do it. However it is, moving the body is just so beneficial.
Yes. Yeah, so true. And you mentioned as well, like the pausing factor. That's been big for me. The tuning into the senses, the sensory organs, and actually noticing what it is I see, I taste, I touch, smell, hear, and really tuning into those moments frequently throughout the day has allowed me to break up this association I had with mind. It's like the strong belief that I had with a thought in the past was to the point of my reality. Like, every single thought I had in terms of maybe this person doesn't like me, that thought would be instantly real to me. It would, that assumption would actually be reality. Or the assumption that I'm not good enough would be a reality for me, right? Or the assumption that my partner's going to break up with me would be a reality for me. Like, these assumptions that I'd made, these thoughts that I'd had going through my head were so strong and potent to me that they became a reality, to the point where I actually manifested it, because I would act from a state of fear and clinginess and control in those environments, because I was so fearful and afraid of it actually going through with that. And then, of course, the more you try to grapple onto something, the more it tries to get away. So yeah, that was the kind of life that I lived for a long time, and that pausing, that simplicity of just taking moments of breath and moments of pausing and tuning into the sensory organs more often throughout the day, that allowed me to break up that identification I had with my mind and my thoughts, and really help to create that space and really come to a deep understanding as to what reality really was, which is this. Like, this is reality. Absolutely. What we're doing right now, not what I'm thinking about in an hour's time or 2 hours time.
Like, the worst things that happen to us are usually just our fears. Life's usually a lot less stressful than our fears think it's going to be.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I like that you're talking about, like, thinking about all those negative things and stuff, because, like, there's a difference between, like, ruminating about all these different things and using potential negative thoughts constructively. And there used to be this movement where, like, you should only have positive thoughts. You can only have positive thoughts. And that's not generally possible as human beings.
Exactly.
We're hardwired for a certain amount of negative emotions. If, like, you step out in the street, you think, okay, I might get hit by a bus. That serves a useful purpose. Like, okay, stop and look. It's different than, like, when we're just ruminating, like, okay, maybe what do they think this? well, I should have done this and this, and those become not
Yes.
useful for us, and those aren't good. But we have to have a certain amount of negative thoughts in order to just be human and to process things and take safe actions.
Yeah, totally.
So
Totally.
it's okay to have some negative thoughts. And
Absolutely, and it's actually the attempt at suppressing those negative thoughts that ends up being the biggest problem in our life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a book I read several years ago. I don't remember any specifics, but it was called The Antidote: Happiness for People Who Don't Like Positive Thinking.
Wow.
And this journalist went and interviewed all these different groups, like Stoics and Buddhists and different
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
and like people that just really allow themselves just to totally see all aspects, whether they feel it's negative or positive,
Yeah.
and to feel everything and just plan accordingly.
It's beautiful. Yeah, Buddhist concepts have definitely served me a lot. With the concept of equanimity is a big, strong factor that has helped me in a positive way, and that is the concept that there's no positive or negative thoughts, there's just thoughts. There's no positive or negative emotions, there's just emotions. And being able to be fully accepting and embracing of all thoughts, all emotions, no matter what comes through. That's the concept of equanimity. And Jesus talked about it a lot, actually, in his own way, without using that specific word. But so did as well what they call Adiyogi or Shiva, thousands of years ago. So there's been like this beautiful chain of events through deeper traditional teachings around this concept of equanimity, which is this concept that there doesn't need to be this strong attachment to the beauty, like to the concept of beauty or the perception of beauty, because then everything else becomes hell.
Right.
And now basically I'm creating my own hell on earth, like in doing so. So this concept is really, and the teaching is really to come to a place where this quote unquote hell on earth that I've been creating in my mind, because I'm perceiving things as bad and negative, such as like these unpleasant emotions are bad and these negative thoughts are terrible, and this strong aversion of these things creates a suffering of those things when they happen. But when I'm in equanimity, when these things arise, it's no longer am I trying to avert them, am I trying to escape them. So I'm no longer in a state of reaction, because that's really what reaction is, right? Because going into a state of trying to get away from something or trying to fight something, that's reaction.
So that's kind of like where like meditation, mindfulness can come in handy, because it teaches you just to observe the thoughts and things and not judge them as negative or
just
positive.
Yeah.
Just to notice them, and then you can figure out what you want to do with them later on. But just to not get so much into the judgment of it all.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, and that's exactly what the concept is about. Yeah, coming to a place of that equanimity, which is that place of non-judgment. Yeah, which I really love.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a very beautiful teaching, and I definitely love that. It's coming into more modern society a little bit more, which is really beautiful. And not like, yes, Buddhism is coming around a lot, which is amazing, but even the concept of neutrality, the concept of equanimity is coming up a lot more. And like meditation, really, that's the teaching of meditation. Meditation is a state of non-doing, and non-reactiveness.
Right.
Yeah, which I love, right? A state of consciousness. And compulsiveness or reaction is quite literally the opposite of consciousness. So one that can be meditation, or be in meditation, not just in terms of the practice, but in terms of the way of life. Is one that has come to a place of equanimity within themselves. Which I really find such a beautiful way of living.
Very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Something for me to take away and think
Oh,
about
man.
even more and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. Is there anything that you would that you'd like to share, or anything that you'd like to speak to?
Oh, that's a good question. No, the thing I was thinking was like it's just so important to have human time and people time and like healthy touch and things like that, because we can survive without it, but we can't thrive.
Yes.
Without it.
I love that.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that was it. We'll call that good. So.
Oh, well, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah. Do you want to come and join? Yeah, cool.
Give some
Well,
space
thank you so
there.
much for coming on, brother.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah. So great to meet you.
You too.
Yeah. And feel free to hang around, and if the space opens up, we can jump
watch
on
for a few
again.
minutes.
Awesome. Good on you. Have a beautiful day. Charlotte, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So, so for those that are just tuning in now, Charlotte here. I work with Charlotte, and Charlotte is such an incredible human. You have your own Actually, I'm going to get you to speak on this. And yeah, so you're originally Kiwi.
Yeah.
You went over to Australia a while ago, and you've
Yeah.
started. And I'll get you to move a little closer to the mic if that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you moved over to Australia for a while, and now you're back for a little holiday. So speak
Yeah.
to us about a little bit about your journey
Yeah.
and what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, originally from Auckland, New Zealand, and moved to Brisbane about 9
Where in
years
Auckland
ago.
were you from? Where?
So I grew up in Gleneden, out
Ah, okay.
Titirangi way, and
Yeah.
then sort of like lived all over.
Yeah,
so yeah, back for a extended holiday now.
Nice.
So very grateful to be back and spend some time with family and friends, seeing as though it's been closed for a while now with COVID. So yeah, we've been working together for like 3 months now, I think.
Oh man, I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 4.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, just amazing. Like, obviously, all the growth that I've seen with working alongside you and our group Heal has been incredible. So, I just wanted to come down and support
Oh,
for
thank
this.
you.
So,
Thank you. That's so good.
yeah.
I love that you've already met Roy as well. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
know how that was possible, but
Yeah.
it was so awesome. He came up and said hey,
Yeah.
and yeah, just to see everyone in person, because I know like we chat over Zoom, but I think having that, you know,
it's not quite the same.
no.
eh?
So no, that was really cool, and it was really nice to have a good conversation with him as well.
Yeah, awesome. How long are you planning on being in New Zealand again?
Well, I was planning on 5 weeks, but the world has said it's probably going to be 8.
Yeah. So because where else went into lockdown? Is it the entire of Australia, or is it just sort of New South
It's
Wales?
Just
or?
New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia.
Okay.
But I think New Zealand was like, it's just too much of a risk to have, you know, Australia coming into New Zealand. So while I was in the sky, they said all flights cancelled. Yeah.
While you were in the sky.
And I wasn't even meant to be on that plane. Like, I was on a later plane. It was a big thing.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, I got on the earlier
is
flight.
so lucky.
So yeah, I'm very lucky to be here.
because what do you do for work again? You?
So I've got a beauty salon.
Yeah, that's right,
So,
beauty salon,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do everything beauty, skin, sort of.
Didn't you say that you're opening up a second store?
I would love to.
Yeah.
So we've just expanded, growing the business into. I used to have 2 staff members. This time last year, I've now got 6 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was just thinking, coming here, I think all the work that we do together has just made me so more grateful for it. Like, you know, it may have always happened, but just realizing and being proud of it is, such an achievement. So,
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. So, what I'd love to ask a little bit about from you, if you're open to it, is just maybe a little bit about your own journey around, mental health, and what have been some big lessons along your journey.
Yep.
of mental health.
Yeah, I think, you know, with mental health, I've grown up with it being so present around me. And again, like growing a team and having to influence and lead, you know, other people, I really just wanted to, I guess, understand it a little bit more. And, you know, be able to help and guide others as well as understand it for my purpose. And through, I guess, going inward and looking at it all, you know, for myself personally, I think I was very much a like over-functioning anxious person. I didn't think I was anxious or depressed or shut down, but then when you look at, you know, all the things I was doing and filling my life with, it was kind of clouding, you know, that kind of thing as well. So that's cool, having a different understanding of it. And yeah, I just like to know, I guess you explain it in such a good way with the neuroscience side of it. But just looking at like the whole picture of it has been really cool and eye-opening for me. And then I can, you know, help my team with that as well.
So cool.
So,
cool.
without them knowing they are my little guinea pigs.
Yeah, just subtly sort of sneaking in some help.
But
I
it's
love it.
great, like, you know, obviously living in a state of gratitude is just seeing the beauty and just being in control of yourself. I was always tried to control everything outside, but now I feel in control of me and everything else can just flow.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. And
Yeah.
what was the shift that helps you to shift from trying to control your environment to actually coming to a place where you could try to, and essentially actually be successful with creating control within? Yeah.
So
was the
much, like, it's hard to put a finger on it, but I think the biggest thing was creating stillness through meditation and breath work.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think that would be the biggest thing, and like having that confidence in yourself and like letting go, I guess, of the control outward. Because I used to be very black and white, and now I'm very flexible, and like I'm stuck here. So I'm like the old Charlotte would be quite stressed. I'm like,
Wow.
well, it's meant to be.
Yeah, and it's because it's 8 weeks minimum, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you might even be here longer.
Who knows? Yeah.
who knows?
But that would just show me, I guess that the business can function without me. But
Wow, yes.
that would be so cool.
Yeah.
So I just see it as a positive, and I think it's really cool, I guess, reflecting on just how I'm dealing with it. Like, obviously there was still a lot of stress yesterday, but processed it. My team is so supportive. They're like, we've got you.
Wow.
And I'm just so lucky to be here with friends and family and chatting to you.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so amazing.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
amazing.
So it's awesome.
Yes, yes. So you talked about you're able to process something that previously would have been triggering. How do you go through something, and how do you process something now?
Yeah.
compared to in the
Definitely, I guess, like breathing. Like,
Yeah.
I think I just have to bring it all back to the breathing.
'Cause was it more like
Yeah,
now
it
it's
was
like
very like shallow, kind of stressful, and you go into like problem solving, but I was like, you know what, I can't control anything that's about to happen, so I'm just going to help to take my stress levels down. So just the breath work, making sure, like this morning, just going for like my morning walk and still doing cold showers, and keeping those little promises. It's all about the little promises, and just keeping the attention on like yourself and what you can do to I guess help yourself rather than control. So hard to put a finger on it.
it is really tough.
I think
yeah.
with everything it's just like it's the whole package. But yeah, I think breath has been a big one for me to slow down. And
And in terms of like utilizing calming breath, or in terms of the Wim Hof stuff, or
Yeah, so I think more so calming breath for that,
Yeah.
and then the Wim Hof breath in the morning to like create that kind of control in your day, but
Yeah.
in those stressful points, just really that 5-8-8 or 5-6-8. I always mix it up,
yeah, totally. The one that I love is the 6-8-10.
6-8-10.
Like 6 seconds in. So actually, for those listening, give that a go yourself. Is just as we're speaking, inhale for 6 seconds through the nose, and a great way to practice the inhale is if you bring I haven't actually shared with you guys yet, but it's called Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi breathing is when you bring sort of like the middle back part of your tongue and push it up to the top back of your sort of like at the top of your throat or top of your mouth, and in doing so it actually opens up the airways a little bit more. So instead of the inhale being like, it sort of goes like, just opens up more.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different to like
Nice.
and yeah, basically what Ujjayi breathing is for is to actually open up and access the whole capacity of the lung, which is it's a really beautiful way of breathing. But the 6 seconds in through the nose, and then 8 seconds hold, and 10 seconds out through the mouth, like you're blowing through a straw. It's really lovely breath. So if those listening are able to, then definitely give that a try. Do at least 3 rounds. 6 rounds is best, and you'll find that you'll notice a considerable difference. The big part in that though is not the tempo is not so important.
Yeah.
It's more so it just helps to remember, but it's more so about the fact that the exhale is longer than the inhale. I'm loving this whole situation.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what do you feel have been what are you most excited about for this period of time while you're here?
Just seeing all my friends and family, connecting with my people again, like, over the phone and on video chat, it's just not the same. So all my hugs from all my, loved ones, and just, been able to spend time with them, and explore some nature, get out and, find some waterfalls and go for some walks and stuff.
So
New
good.
Zealand's beautiful. I'm off to the South Island as well, so looking forward
So
to that.
you're off on Thursday?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday,
cool.
flying
Where do you
down
go?
to Dunedin.
Dunedin, yes.
And then one of my besties and I, we're going to do a full road trip up to Nelson, back down to Christchurch and Queenstown.
Oh, so good. I'm
Yeah.
actually heading down to the South Island after Saturday next week.
Oh, nice.
So not long after you actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I go down to Taupo for a marathon on Saturday.
Oh,
And
that's
then-
exciting.
And then after that, I'm shooting down by car to Queenstown.
Oh,
Yeah. So stopping
cool.
off in
I love
Wellington, doing the car
Queenstown.
ferry, and
Yeah.
I've got a place in Arrowtown that I'm going to stay in for a couple
Oh,
of weeks.
nice. Oh, that'll
It's
be
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
So beautiful down there.
It is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But if we're in Queenstown at the same time.
Perfect. I will
who
let you
knows?
know. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So that would be good. But what I'd love to ask, because I think this is quite relevant for not even just people that have their own business, but just in general when it comes to a place of surrendering and letting other people take over certain activities or certain practices or even your business while you're away, and being able to surrender control like that is a big lesson. So what has it taken you to come to a place where you can surrender that control so that your employees can just go forward and be in charge of the
Yeah.
business for so long, for 2 months?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as well, what was the setup process to help that, to make that happen? Because
Yeah.
you can't just willy-nilly throw in a bunch of employees into a business and be like, okay, it's all yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go. It first started with letting go of perfectionism, and having that control yourself. I think it's just a learnt skill. Like you do it, all yourself in business to start off with. So it was just the realization that people could help. The second thing would definitely be surrounding myself with team that I am so comfortable and I trust them to leave, the business with. So, definitely everything that I've done to help communicate with and find the right staff, they are definitely what makes it possible. And then to a micro level is just systemizing the business. So I called it it all lived up here in my head and now it is in process.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So it's
fantastic.
just processes that they can pick up and do themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not in control.
That's so
Letting
fantastic.
go of the control.
Yes. Oh man, and
So-
what a change in way of life that is.
Yeah, and it's just overwhelm is gone, the stress is gone. Yeah, it's like the weight is lifted. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel like it's because you've increased the level of trust you have in yourself that you can increase the level of trust you have in others? Is that?
Yeah, 100%. I think when you create confidence within yourself, I was always very an outward confident person.
Yeah.
But having confidence in yourself to trust yourself as well, and trust your decisions, and to let go is really important.
Yeah,
So
totally.
and it's cool. I get so much joy and excitement from their growth and seeing them
it's
do
fantastic.
it. It's so
Yeah.
cool. And to have my team to be like, "Don't worry, Shah, we've got your back," is just wow. Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes for how you've shown up for them.
Yeah,
'cause
thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh man, I mean, at the end of the day, if someone doesn't feel heard, they're not gonna listen.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
someone doesn't feel seen, they're not going to look.
Yeah.
And
That's so
if someone
true.
doesn't feel supported, they're not going to support. So
That's so true.
Seems to be
Yeah.
what's occurring, which is fantastic.
That's so true.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful shot.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
jumping on.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah. What
So
are you
nice to
doing for
meet
the rest of
you.
your day? Yeah, so good to meet you too.
Just hanging out with Mum.
Yeah.
I've got a dinner tonight with family, seeing my brother, and just
cool.
being with my people.
Yeah, well, you'll be catching this a little bit live at some
Awesome.
stage. In the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it'll be
Awesome.
released over a few different podcasts. So.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. See ya.
Awesome. Yes. And I'll see you for dinner on Monday.
Yep, sounds good.
Hopefully. Yeah, cool. See ya. Awesome. Brother! Come give me a hug. Okay, cool. Awesome. Great to see you, man.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you, since Resolution, I think it was. Was it Spirit?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
Probably Spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been, it's just been,
Just come across a little bit more,
Okay.
brother. That's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
okay,
Yeah, you're good.
sweet.
Mm.
No, it's been a good year.
Yeah.
And you've been part of that.
Oh, thank you, brother.
So I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate the retreat that I went on with you, and what I learned there has helped me a lot. And
awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
and also your daily updates as well.
awesome.
I read them sometimes, and it's just really, you're giving me, and I'm sure a lot of people, it's just so helpful, what you say about anxiety and facing anxiety,
Yes.
rather
yes.
than my tendency used to always be to resist it and run away
Yes,
from it,
yes.
and that was always what kept it there and kept it going.
Yeah.
And then kind of you just gave me the courage, like I'd kind of heard it somewhere else, but
Okay.
like just through reading what you'd said about facing it, just like kind of embracing it, and then it's like a paradox, because it's ironically it disappears. It lessens the more you sort of say yes to
Yeah, isn't that funny? Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's something that I know would so many people are suffering from, and so I'm just back at university actually. So
Wow.
yeah.
What are you looking at? What are you doing?
I'm just learning French because I like French.
Oh, yeah.
I like the culture. And I'm refreshing my maths as well, just because I have a science bent, like yourself, and
Yeah.
I just like that maths, and so no, it's good being back.
So, comment tu parles français?
Oui, je parlais un peu français.
I don't even know what that meant, to be honest.
I speak a little
Oh,
bit.
is it? Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah.
Un
Yeah.
peu français.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's a really like a nice mental health for me too, is to have something to focus on, and so being in a learning environment is nice, especially now that I'm calmer and more relaxed than when I was last at university. I was anxious.
Yeah.
And I do see a lot of anxiety in students as
Isn't
well.
that interesting, eh? It's like once we start to resolve a little bit more within us and actually start to look at it, we
Yeah.
start to see it in others. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see it, and I'm actually gonna run a few little gatherings there just to help
Talk
people.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
it's just going to be 2 days a week, Mondays and Thursdays, at Albert Park next to the university, 12 o'clock. And it's going to be to introduce breath work, introduce mindfulness and meditation, just and that's it really, just enable a space for that to happen, because there's some of that at the university, but it's actually there's only one group that's doing that, but this will be more informal. It'll be in a park, and so I feel happy to share that with people as well.
Oh, so thank you for doing that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh no, I know that it's it feels good to share. Yeah, it feels good, and like I know that it's something that it's just so needed.
Oh man, so needed. And I feel like those that go through anxiety or depression or just any form of suffering like that, become for sure so passionate about others not needing to go through that.
Yeah,
because they realize the pain. Yeah.
I think also another thing that that is hard is actually knowing that there is anxiety, because in myself I know I know that often anxiety can creep in.
Yeah.
And we don't find ourselves, like, we don't really notice it until it gets to a late stage of panic or like real stress.
Yes.
And so it may be I should write down some or share some ways of identifying anxiety.
Yes. And do you mind sharing maybe some ways that you've learned to identify anxiety?
Yeah. Because it's sort of like, it's sort of the when our for me actually one of the clearest signs is indecision. So often if I'm starting to get anxious about a particular event coming up, or something in my day, something that I'm planning, should I do this, should I do that, then that kind of thinking where I can't decide, and I'm just sort of swaying between, I should do this, I should do that, then to me that's a sign that I'm my mind is anxious, that the amygdala or some part of my brain is fighting with my front of my brain, my
Yeah.
prefrontal part and the rational side,
Yeah.
and there's some kind of conflict inside, and then I know that's anxiety.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's a clear sign. And then I think also just everything tends to feel more difficult. Everything feels more like a struggle.
Yeah.
There's not the kind of ease and well-being or feeling good that we naturally are all able to feel when we're relaxed. And
Yeah, and that comes from the acceptance of it, right?
Yeah.
Rather than the aversion of it. Yeah.
And first recognizing it, and then that's the first
Yeah,
step, and then
sure.
once I know that I'm anxious, then sitting and enabling an acceptance, a non-resistance
Yeah,
to
fantastic. Yeah.
and so then it's like, and it's just so and the breath techniques, I think also the like Wim Hof, what I found also is that often sitting and to be mindful or to not resist already takes some level of calm.
Yes.
But
yes.
if we're not in any level of calm, and we really are in a state of
Oh,
almost
man,
panic,
when you're really up there,
Yeah.
with the anxiety and panic for sure.
then the most effective tool was shared by you, which was Wim Hof.
Yeah.
And that's like a really powerful thing, I think, to really just off switch
just changes the state, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I know for myself, man, when I've experienced massive panic in the past, there's only been really two things that have helped me to shift out of it really quickly, which one has been completely change my state physically. So maybe I've quite literally been sitting down and I've stood up and then gone for a walk. It's like completely changing my state and location, situation.
like going for a run or
For sure, and just shifting my state completely. And then the other way has been the Wim Hof practice, to completely change the level. Because I mean, Wim Hof's fantastic because the amount of epinephrine, adrenaline flowing through my system at that time helps me to feel much more empowered and capable of managing my situation, which is fantastic. So it just really helps create that clarity.
There's a clarity, and it's funny how I don't notice it sometimes during the Wim Hof, but later in the day I just notice actually I wouldn't be this calm normally.
Wow.
And that and so it has like a whole day effect. If I do it in the morning, then it's really great. And like you said, like physical exercise, that's just something that I've had to really come to terms with, is the importance of getting enough physical exercise just in general, because it's just like we have come from that as a species. We've come from hard work and hunter-gathering, so we're actually hooked up for moving our body and using it.
Totally.
And the society is always telling us to do the opposite, which is always take the easy option, never test ourselves, never push the body. So it's just really great the effect that exercise has on the mind. And
No, I feel that. Before we go any further, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, because I never got to you to do that earlier. So just who are you, and what do you do for life?
Okay.
What do you do for life?
Okay. Hello, I'm Connell.
Later introduction, sorry guys.
My name is Connell. I do whatever I do many things, let's put it that way. But my interest since a very young age has been awareness and enlightenment and awakening. So I started meditating when I was young.
How young were you?
About 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What drew you then to meditation? That's incredible.
I just had this. Firstly, I think an existential fear, like everybody, of death. What is death? What is life? But somehow I don't know how, but I just gravitated to meditation and got a lot out of meditation when I was very young, or when I was a teenager. But then through my teenage years, I suffered anxiety and confusion around the way that we're living, and sort of alcohol and all that comes into it, and drugs. When I was a teenager, these really disrupted my sort of my well-being,
Yeah.
and so I suffered a lot through that. But I'm also naturally a scientist, so I studied physics. I enjoyed physics. I studied physics at school, and then I went to university to study physics, and I did half of that before I would say an awakening happened. There was like a dropping of my self identity and a shift in my whole world, and so then I dropped out of university after that, and since then, I've just been traveling and sort of learning, and now I feel called to give back to the world, and especially in regard to health, mental health, and
Yes.
yeah.
No, it's incredible. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Well, what do you feel has been, and actually, I'd just like to share really briefly as well, because you mentioned earlier symptoms of anxiety. I know one for me has been the tenseness in the shoulders and the stomach. So if I'm in a conversation and it takes a dip or a turn in a way that I wasn't expecting or wasn't really wanting, I'd feel a little tension in my stomach, or even a tightness in my throat.
Okay.
And just notice. That definitely takes a little bit more awareness for sure, is noticing those little things. But even if I guess one can notice even their shoulders, which is probably the easier one to notice, is this tightness in the shoulders, and then actually learning to relax the shoulders and relaxing the gut and relaxing the throat. That's definitely been a big one for myself, is teaching the body to be in a more of a relaxed state when quote unquote previously anxious experience has come to the surface, and I've started to go into that anxious experience, and then I've chosen, actually, you know what, this time I'm going to choose relax and calm instead of anxious and fight and flight. And that's definitely allowed me, on top of quite a few other things, to help start to shift what previously was an anxious experience into one that allows me to maintain calm. It's like, as the body and this whole nervous system has become more relaxed, I'm sort of proving to my brain and my nervous system, hey, guess what? You're actually going to be safe. Even if you stay relaxed in this moment, you're actually going to be safe. You're going to be okay.
Just retraining your brain.
Totally, because it doesn't need to go into that reactive state. But it thinks it does. So it's definitely teaching it, like, hey, guess what, buddy? It's okay. You can chill out. And it starts to learn that. I mean, at the end of the day, when we say nervous system, the brain and the nervous system are really one organ. And so at the end of the day, when I start to relax my whole system itself, it is really teaching the brain as well to maintain that relax, which is really a beautiful thing. Like, I even notice when I'm driving, man, like, a thought will be in my head and I won't even know the thought's there, and I'll be like, why are my shoulders tight? Oh wow, my mind's been drifting to that. Oh, okay. Relax. It's really a good key, that one.
And that's just like meditation gives us that presence of mind and the breath work I'm so grateful that meditation has been something I come across, and breath work and eating well and all that. It's a holistic thing, and getting enough interaction with other people as well.
Right. Okay.
And that's what most people suffer from in our society, is isolation. And our capitalist system based on privatization is very isolating, and can be, and so we have to find ways around that to be able to meet people and just talk to anybody in the street. There's so much benefit in just talking to a homeless person.
True, for sure. Like, even this amazing lady over here, I've had a few conversations with her. I actually want to learn her name because I don't know, but the one, for those that are listening to the podcast itself, she's actually been singing in the background the whole time. But yeah, she's been singing in Te Reo Māori, and yeah, she, I believe, might be, I'm not sure actually, to be honest, is homeless, I think, but is always seeking donation for for overall support of life. It's
Yeah.
really a beautiful, but man, she's got such a beautiful heart.
Yeah.
You know, such a beautiful heart.
Yeah. She said, "Hello, how are you?" to me as
Oh,
I walked past
wow.
her, and in her eyes and her presence, she was very warm, very
Yeah.
nice, very kind, and
Yeah.
it's also sad because we're cashless now.
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
never
totally.
carrying cash, but I want to give people some.
Yeah.
So sometimes I go to the ATM and withdraw cash.
Yeah.
Just for that, just
Yeah.
to be able to give it to people.
Mm.
Because it's such a nice feeling that for my mental health also to when I know if I've even made a tiny difference in someone's day, it's just really nice. And so giving is really rewarding and yeah.
I feel that. Yeah, one of my mentors said to me, if you feel you're lacking in anything or you're scarce in anything, give that thing you feel lacking or scarce with. Yeah, like if you feel you don't feel that if you don't feel that you've got enough time, give someone your time and give someone your full presence.
Yeah.
If you don't feel you've got any money, give a busker or a homeless person a few dollars. If you don't feel like you've got enough love, go and give a whole lot of love. And the feeling will end up, the feeling and the experience itself needs to flow through you in order to be passed on. And that experience itself of the giving of that thing creates a sense of abundance within that thing that it is that you're giving. And it's.
And I think I read recently you wrote something that really is true. Is it's kind of like that. It's like valuing, not just thinking about big dreams and big goals, but really just valuing the small and valuing the small interactions with everybody. Like it doesn't matter if it's your landlord or your mum or your dad or whoever, and just cherishing and giving to that as best we can, and then it's like that's just really beautiful and really helpful.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming. Before you go as well, do you mind sharing firstly maybe your biggest lesson? Yeah, what comes to mind? What's been your biggest lesson?
My biggest lesson, I would say, has been to actually listen to myself, trust my own feelings, trust my own instincts, and don't put society's like pressures or even friends' pressures ahead of your own needs and own feelings. Yeah, that's my biggest learning. Yeah, and I'm still learning every day.
Oh
and
man, me too, man.
I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
No one is, and so yeah. Thanks for I've never been on a podcast.
Oh right, well, awesome.
Yeah,
it's going to go live. As well, it is live at the moment, but
Okay.
I don't know if these guys can actually, especially with like bikes and stuff driving around. But I don't know if these guys can hear us too well. But hopefully you can. But yeah, this seems to be recording pretty well by the looks of it. I've never used a mixer before in my life. But
okay.
Yep.
We're blessed with great weather.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's capturing well, and so basically the YouTube and the podcast itself will go live, sort of split up into pieces over the next couple of weeks, and this amazing human over here is going to be the reason why this can happen in the first place. So
Great.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. Do you have any final things that you'd like to share?
Just love yourself, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's
Yeah.
just it. That's
Yeah.
actually it, eh?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity again. Yeah.
Oh man, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
Right.
Yeah, we'll give you a hug, man.
Yeah.
I need to get out of the sun for a little bit as well. It's burning too crisping. Well, I'm gonna take a quick break because I need to get out of the sun because I've been crisping and I've been searing and I've been cooking. So we'll take a quick break and we'll jump back into it. And we are back. So took a quick little break because I needed to get out of the sun because I was crisping and I was sizzling. I was becoming a bit of a cooked prawn. But here we are. So I just wanted to basically jump on for just another 10 or 15 minutes. I just wanted to quickly share a little bit, complete the sharing of my journey. But before I do want to share as well. There's been this incredible human, probably about 40 meters away from where we're recording this podcast, who I see quite often here in Takapuna. I don't actually know her name. I need to find out her name, but I see her quite often. I always say hi. She always says hi. And yeah, she just came over and said hi once again a little bit earlier. But it's the lovely lady that's singing the Te Reo Māori in the background that you might have heard during this podcast. And I don't actually know if she's homeless or not. She might be, she might not be. But she's always got this lovely smile, always singing to create joy in the people around her that are passing by. And what blew me away is, as I was speaking to her, she's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm speaking a bit weird at the moment because someone has punched me in the face." I'm like, "What? Someone's punched that lovely lady?" It blows my mind. I don't get human sometimes, but yeah, she was punched in the face. She still had a lovely smile, and she just recently got a tumor removed, a cancerous tumor. And this whole time, I had no idea. And here she was, always singing away on the streets almost every single day. It just baffles me that the amount of strength that this lady has and the amount of joy that she's able to help emit into others. It just blows me away, considering the amount of struggles and challenges that she's been having. And she still manages to create such an abundance of joy with others. It's just absolutely beautiful. But just goes to show how incredible humans can be. When we really decide that I want to live in joy from now on. And make that the number one commitment. Unfortunately, I know for myself, I thought joy was a commitment, but when I really look back at my life, I really see it was materialism, respect from others, acceptance from others that was prioritized over my joy. So ultimately, I would, with that concept of joy being a secondary thing, I would sacrifice my happiness to get the acceptance of others, or sacrifice my happiness to get the material things. I'd sacrifice my happiness in order to, work more hours and generate more income and all these different things, and my happiness would deteriorate. Now, who's the one that is meant to enjoy the things that I was trying to accumulate? Well, it's meant to be me, but how am I meant to enjoy those things if I can't be in a state where I can enjoy those things? So yeah, when I finally understood that, if my joy and my happiness isn't my number one priority, then ultimately how can I go ahead and help inspire it in others, and how can I go ahead and then enjoy the things that I'm accumulating? So yeah, it's just such a it was such a transformational understanding for me to come to, and concept for me to come to. That definitely really helps shift things once joy, or when I decide that my way of life is going to be joy from now on, and that becomes a commitment, and I'm going to do anything that I can, so long as I remain open-minded and open to trying just about anything in order to actually create joy in my life, unreliant on anyone else, by the way, unreliant on whether someone likes me or dislikes me, unreliant on whether I have $1 million in my account or 0 in my account, unreliant on whether or not I'm doing the job that I want to be doing and I have the amount of money coming in that I want to be having coming in. Unreliant on that, still being able to come to a place of joy. That's really, once that's a priority in life, then only then can it happen. Yeah, because otherwise the good old human brain likes to go into quote-unquote survival mode. But even if you are surviving, which clearly if you're listening to this, you're of course in some state of survival right now, you're alive, you're listening to this, right? So you've survived. The brain's done its job, but then it's also going ahead and trying to survive even better than it already is. So now it's in a state where it wants to survive even better. And if you think back to ancient times, I might be surviving now, but in the next second we could have an enemy invasion. In the next second we could go into this crazy famine, right? All of a sudden we're not getting any rain, so our crops can't grow, and or maybe a storm might come in and we can't travel to go hunt, right? So all these different things can lead to potential lack of life, lack of survival capabilities. So ultimately this hoarding of accumulation of food, this hoarding of accumulation of community and structure, and making everything happen as soon as possible, so that we can be in a state of ultimate possible survival. So basically, back in those times, you could never survive enough, right? You could always find some way to survive better. And that being the case, this needing to survive better was useful, was helpful. But unfortunately now, we've already got these comforts and conveniences that really enable survival to that extent and more so easily, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I could live in my house for 3 months. I mean, frick, we did, right, during quarantine, and not even leave it, right? I could even order my groceries to my door, right? You don't even need to leave your house anymore to acquire safety and security, right? You don't need to go and gather your food. You don't need to go and you don't need to really go and do anything. You can sit at home on your Tinder app and freaking swipe right on the right person, and there you go. You've got a partner, right? So yes, it's not that easy, but it's possible, right? The possibility is there, which really indicates the fact that this strong. Oh, there's a dog pooping right in front of us. This strong need of survival isn't really necessary. So ultimately, because we're going into these crazy strong, intense experiences of survival, we're constantly in a state of stress where we can't even come to a place where joy is even a possibility. So that's what I mean by now more than ever, life has given us the opportunity to actually make joy a priority in our lives, so that we can actually enjoy what is around us, what is occurring within our lives. We actually have that capability and possibility now. In the past, we didn't. So although one might be programmed to be very pessimistic, to be very sad constantly, to be very anxious constantly, right? That can be transformed no matter how deep one is in that state. It is always possible, so long as you've got a human brain. And if you're listening to this, you have a human brain. So yeah, that's all possible. And I'll just share the final piece of my story. Also, how long do we have left on this good old camera, do you think?
I would say 10 minutes.
Cool. All right, I'll wrap it up in 5. All right, here we go. 5 minutes. So just to wrap up my story, I shared earlier about sort of a little bit about my journey with testosterone and how I used to be very depressed and shy and anxious. And I was using the St. John's wort, which is fantastic. But after a while, it started to become, I became very tolerant to it, right? Basically, you can build a very strong tolerance to these herbs, right? Even ashwagandha, you can actually build a tolerance to that, even though it's a very mild herbal supplement compared to St. John's wort. But these are all fantastic compounds that we can take that can help and assist. But remember, this alongside medication is a platform, right? It's not the solution. So long as it's seen as a platform that we can walk on, and then we can go ahead and with time, I mean, it's probably more of even infrastructure. It's probably more of scaffolding. And if in time you start to remove the scaffolding and then the scaffolding from the building itself, right? You want a self-sustaining building. But if the building's not self-sustained, then the scaffolding is always going to be necessary. So it's the same with the herbs and the medication, right? Use those, fantastic. Please use them, especially if you need them. I highly recommend that. But what I don't recommend is seeing it as a solution, because ultimately, if the things that are creating the anxiety and the depression at the root aren't fixed, because there's something that causes the chemical imbalance. The chemical imbalance doesn't just happen because, right? There's something at a deeper root that always causes that chemical imbalance to occur due to raised amounts of stress, lower levels of serotonin, lower levels of dopamine, due to the fact that this crazy chemical imbalance has occurred from the fact that the brain is more so in a fight or flight or freeze state. So in other words, a reactive state or a survival state, right? So long as the brain is in that state, yeah, this state of higher levels of serotonin, which is a calming compound, higher levels of dopamine, which is a motivation and reward compound, aren't very possible in high amounts and sustainable amounts. So with that being said, I was in that state for a long time, and what really flipped it for me was starting to remove myself from this concept that counseling was the only way and therapy was the only way and psychology was the only way, because I was trying to go in that direction, but it wasn't working. I was trying, my herbs, and that wasn't working. I was trying meditation, and yes, even that wasn't working. Why? Because I thought I knew how to meditate. I did not. I did not at all. I eventually came to a place where I was able to remove this concept that I knew how to meditate, and I opened myself up and became more receptive to learning more about how to meditate. And that's when things started to actually start to shift, right? I learned how to sit there for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, even 2 hours sometimes in a state of meditation, and learning to come to that place of strong equanimity, neutrality, calmness within myself, no matter what. Learning to come to that place, no matter what happens around me, no matter what happens to me, no matter what even happens within me. Coming to a place where I can learn to accept and be okay with those things. And that doesn't mean becoming a doormat, but it means learning to not react in a way that I need to suffer this thing. Because as Muji says, it's not that I'm experiencing suffering, it's that I'm suffering my experiencing. It's not that I'm experiencing suffering, it's that I'm suffering my experiencing. So when sadness comes, I don't need to suffer the sadness. When anxiety comes, I don't need to suffer the anxiety. Even though I might suffer it at this point, I can learn with time to no longer suffer that thing. And that's with practice, right? And meditation has been a really key factor to that. And then, of course, understanding the brain as well has been a big one. So those two routes of learning how to meditate and maintain meditation throughout the day, not just in the practice of meditation, but meditation's a way of life, right? It's not, meditation isn't a practice, it's something you become. You become meditation, and that becomes a way of life from that state. And especially as well, learning more about the brain and how the brain functions and understanding why anxiety happens, why depression happens is very, very helpful as well, because that helps one to come to an understanding of how to reverse engineer it. So those are the two big things in my life that have helped shift anxiety and depression for me, alongside coaching as well, which is why I became a coach myself, because it was super helpful for me. I mean, it quite literally is the reason why I was able to become free myself. So that being said, I think that might be us. I know this will be that one of our cameras will be dying any second now, and I'm surprised that this mixer lasted this whole time. It's been recording for an hour and a half and the battery hasn't even shifted one bit. That's fantastic. I am loving this mixer. So that being said, that's the end of the show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we do this completely free. We don't run any ads, nothing of the sort. Okay, so we do only have one fee, and that one fee, I'm holding up two fingers, right? Really, it's one. The one fee is that if you found that you learnt anything during this podcast, you found that you gained any value, even some entertainment through this episode, then do us a favor and either share it on your story or share it on social or tell someone about it. Or next time that you start talking about mental health or something about the brain, or something that you learnt, give your boy Keza a shout out and be like, oh, I learnt it from my boy Keza. Just head along to the Pocket Coach. That's where my boy is. You can listen in as well. So that really helps us grow, and that's the only way we grow. So if you want to help us reach more people that would benefit from this sort of thing, then please help us out and give us a little shout out. Subscribing and leaving a review helps just as much, if not more even, in terms of actually allowing us to grow as well, and it keeps you guys up to date as we release ideally a podcast every Monday and Thursday midday New Zealand time. That's if I'm onto it, because there's some days some weeks that I'm not, okay? But most of the time that's going to be the case. As of course, I've got my own business outside of this. I've got my own mental health foundation that's it's co-founded, that I'm also co-running as well. It's called Thrive, the Thrive Organization. You can find that on Facebook if you search the Thrive Organization. And eventually we'll get a website going. But you can find us on Instagram for the nonprofit Thrive Organization. Okay, the details are going to be in the notes below, in the description below. There's also going to be, if you search The Pocket Coach on Instagram, you can find us there, or myself, Coach Keza. All right, you can find me there on Instagram as well. So if you have any ideas for the podcast, if you've got any questions you'd like us to explore, then send me a message, or send the Pocket Coach a message, or send me an email, whatever works for you. And we'll definitely answer it in future episodes. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll for sure at some stage do another thing like this. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. Had some amazing people come on down, and it's been a blessing. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. I love you guys. I wish you the best. And thank you for tuning in. Bye now.
I do this for you.